In the heart of Albany, New York, the year was 1964, a time when color televisions were rare, cars were boxy, and the idea of DNA solving crimes was something straight out of science fiction. But on one quiet September morning, a shocking discovery shattered the calm of the neighborhood. A kind, well-known woman, Catherine Blackburn, had been found lifeless in her own home. For nearly 6 decades, her case remained one of the city's darkest mysteries. No suspect, no justice, only questions. Until technology caught up with time. This is the story of how modern science, persistence, and a touch of fate finally uncovered the truth behind the 1964 Albany murder mystery. And the man responsible, Joseph Nowakowski. The morning of September 28, 1964 began like any other in Albany's Pine Hills neighborhood. Catherine Blackburn, 50 years old, was well-liked. Friends described her as warm, dependable, and active in her church community. She lived alone but was rarely lonely. She had neighbors who looked out for her and a close network of friends. But that day, when Catherine didn't show up for her usual commitments, concern began to spread. Her friends decided to check on her. What they found would haunt the city for generations inside her home. Signs of a violent struggle were evident. Catherine had been attacked in what police later described as a brutal and personal assault. The details were grim, so grim that newspapers at the time only alluded to foul play. The community was shaken. In 1964, crimes of this nature were rare in Albany. The police launched an intensive investigation. Dozens of officers canvassed the area, neighbors were interviewed, and tips poured in. But all of it led nowhere. In the 1960s, forensic technology was limited. Fingerprints, witness statements, and intuition were all investigators had. Detectives collected physical evidence, samples that would later prove invaluable. But at the time, there was no way to analyze them beyond the basics. They questioned known offenders, checked alibis, and followed rumors. But every lead turned cold. Weeks turned into months, months into years. Eventually, the case files were boxed up and stored in the Albany Police Archives, labeled unsolved. For Catherine's family, the decades that followed were filled with heartbreak and unanswered questions. Her name faded from the headlines, but for investigators, she was never forgotten. One retired detective once said, "There are cases that never leave you. Catherine's was one of them." Fast forward to the 2000s, forensic science had transformed beyond imagination. DNA testing had become one of the most powerful tools in criminal justice, capable of linking or eliminating suspects with microscopic precision. In 2013, Albany police reopened several cold cases. Catherine Blackburn's file was among them. Evidence that had been carefully preserved for decades was re-examined using advanced DNA technology. And to everyone's surprise, a DNA profile was extracted. But there was a problem. When the profile was entered into national databases, no match. Whoever had committed the crime was not in the system. The case once again went quiet, but this time not forgotten. In 2023, the Albany Police Department joined forces with the Criminal Investigation Resource Center at Russell Sage College, a team specializing in forensic analysis and cold case genealogy. They revisited Catherine's evidence once more, combining forensic genealogy, public DNA databases, and traditional detective work. It took months of comparisons, building out possible family trees and painstakingly tracing DNA connections until one name began to surface again and again. Joseph Nowakowski. Nowakowski had lived in the Albany area in the 1960s. He had a lengthy criminal record, including an attack on an elderly woman in 1973 in Schenectady and several burglaries. However, he died in 1998, long before DNA evidence became part of police investigations. So investigators faced a dilemma. How do you confirm a match when your suspect is no longer alive? It was a bold decision, and one rarely seen in cold cases. Authorities obtained a court order to exhume Joseph Nowakowski's remains. With care and respect, forensic experts collected DNA samples and compared them to the evidence preserved from Catherine Blackburn's home. The result was definitive. After 60 years, science had spoken. The DNA from the 1964 crime scene matched Joseph Nowakowski. It was a breakthrough that stunned the community and brought both relief and heartbreak to those who had waited for justice for so long. Albany's police chief called it a reminder that time and technology can finally give a voice to the voiceless. Nowakowski was born in the 1920s and lived in upstate New York for most of his life. While not much is publicly known about his background, records show he had brushes with the law for minor offenses. Nowakowski was far from an ordinary citizen quietly living in Albany. In fact, records show that Joseph Nowakowski had a criminal history that dated back to the early 1960s. He had been arrested around the same time Catherine Blackburn was killed, not for the attack on Catherine, but for other serious offenses that put him directly into the criminal justice system. He never returned to life outside prison. Nowakowski spent the remainder of his life incarcerated and ultimately died behind bars in 1998. Never held accountable for what he had done, investigators believe the attack on Catherine was not random. Though the exact connection remains unclear, evidence points to Nowakowski possibly knowing her or having observed her before the crime. It's a chilling reminder that evil often hides in plain sight. Catherine Blackburn was described as independent, compassionate, and devoted to her community. For years, her family carried the weight of uncertainty. Some passed away never knowing the truth. But with this new revelation, Catherine's story is no longer one of tragedy without closure. It is a testament to persistence, science, and justice delayed, but not denied. Her name now represents hope for families still waiting for answers in other cold cases across the country. The case of Catherine Blackburn shows us that even after 60 years, the truth has a way of surfacing. DNA doesn't forget. It doesn't fade with time. It waits silently until technology and determination come together to reveal the story it's always held. To the detectives, scientists, and family members who refuse to give up, this case stands as proof that justice may be delayed, but it's never truly out of reach. And for Catherine Blackburn, the silence has finally been broken. If you found this story powerful, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Because every time we revisit these forgotten cases, we honor the voices that time tried to silence.